really, you talk about the block punt and the mistake by AO, and, here's a guy that comes off the injured list and now put into the game, and, it's stuff you have to work on. It's stuff you talk about. But this game was really lost when the offense, and you went through all the possessions really that Dallas had in the second half. And you look at it and you're saying, and you're going, oh wow, 3 plays, 5 yards, 3 plays, -5, 3 plays, -1. That's where this football game is lost. We knew going in that Burrow and Chase were going to be a factor, and they were. And you were able to get pressure late in this game. You got a couple of sacks, but your offense did absolutely nothing to put this game into the favor of the Dallas Cowboys. It shouldn't have come down to AO having to make a decision that unfortunately went against the football team. That's what we're all going to focus on right now, not me. I'm going to focus on the empty possessions against a defense that was near the bottom in the league when it came to pressure. You gave up sacks. You gave up pressure night. Yeah, you're playing with some backup offensive linemen, but some of those guys, they played pretty well overall. When you look at but to me, that's where this game was lost. When your defense got you off the field several times and you did absolutely nothing as a play caller and as an offense to make this, to put Cincinnati in a bad spot. That's where this game was lost. It wasn't about a tip punt. That's the unfortunate thing that happens in a football game. But go back and look at all the empty possessions that Dallas had. Look at Cooper Rush throwing a damn interception on the goal line.
Yep,
or
red zone
damn near the goal line. That's another
Second
empty possession that you have right there.
Absolutely.
You did nothing on offense other than run the football today.
Yeah.
And to expect Cooper Rush to make some plays, you're kind of feeling like CeeDee Lamb is going to light these guys up. Mm-hmm. Where was CeeDee Lamb in the second half of this football game? That's to me is more an indictment on Mike McCarthy and this offense as him as a primary play caller.
Yeah, and you're averaging over 7 yards a carry. Rico Dowdle has 18 carries for 131 yards. They did give the ball to Turpin a couple of times. He runs 2 for 15. Brian, what was the magic number that you told
30.
us leading into this week? 30 times.
Yeah.
30 times. Rico Dowdle has 18 carries, and he's averaging 7.3 yards a carry. Yeah. And if you look at those 3 and outs, okay, one of the drives in the fourth quarter, they do give it to Rico on 1st and 10. He gets -1. Next 2 plays, what happens? It's incompletion.
Yeah.
Then you go Rico Dowdle. Here's a 14-yard run on 1st down.
On a draw after the Schoonmaker penalty, right?
Well, that also happened. We can go back to that. But this is, so after the first 3 and out, it's still 2020, fourth quarter. And you and I looked at each other and said to ourselves, that might be it.
I did. That's where I thought, you cannot have empty possessions against this football team. You saw what happened. You give Joe Burrow, defensively, I don't think you could have done more to try and Chase is going to get his.
Yes.
That is a difficult cover. And Joe moving around in the pocket is going to find that. But that's your offense did absolutely nothing to help. When the defense got stops, what did you do?
Well,
you gave negative yards and punt back.
Right, and they came up with 2 big stops. You had the Donovan Wilson sack. Then it was the Leofow sack. That was before the punt. But so the Cowboys go 3 and out. They punt it back. Bengals then have 1 big play. They get a first down and a 19-yard pass from Joe Burrow. They end up punting.
Yeah.
On 3rd and 13, Joe Burrow gets sacked by Donovan Wilson and Maris Leofow. They shared half sacks there. The ensuing drive for the Cowboys, they get it 1st and 10 at their own 20. Rico Dowdle up the middle for 14 yards with 6.5 to play. 1st and 10 at the 34. Cooper Rush incomplete to Ferguson. 2nd and 10 at the Dallas 34. Cooper Rush incomplete to Cooks. 3rd and 10 at the Dallas 34. Cooper Rush incomplete to Turpin. So not only there are you getting nothing after you ran for 14 yards, you then throw the ball 3 straight times.
Yeah.
But you're also stopping the clock. So now there's 5:41 left to go in the game. You punt it right back to Cincinnati. And what does your defense do? They get another stop. Maris Leofow gets another sack. And then you have the unfortunate moment of the blocked punt. and then AO ends up touching it. It sets up 40 yards. Jamar Chase, you still had over a minute left.
And three timeouts.
And 3 timeouts,
Yeah.
plenty of time. That was gross. They get 15 yards, 1st and 10 from CD. You're thinking, okay, they're at the 45-yard line. Then Cooper Rush scrambles, gets not a sack, gets 3 yards.
Yeah.
They're getting up to the line. They're looking around. They're milking clock. 10 seconds comes off the clock. Sack. Boom. That's all she wrote. You knew the game was done then. But it's just amazing to me how you get a 13-yard pop from Rico Dowdle. He's averaging 7.3 yards a carry. You're gashing them with the running game. Then you want to come back out and run it and pass 3 more times with a quarterback that, for whatever reason, is scared and immune from throwing the football more than 5 yards down the field. It's maddening sometimes watching them play offense, and you're absolutely right. Because even with 3 backup offensive linemen, those backup offensive linemen, you could say, are probably the best you've had on this squad since the 90s. Brock Hoffman, people have been screaming, should start right now. He's got to slide in, play center. TJ Bass, who's played good football, I understand it. That's totally fair. Maybe emotions are high, and I'm not irrationally thinking, but it's not an excuse. You've got to do better. That defense did everything they could in that fourth quarter to give you a chance, and unfortunately you failed on that side of the football. And then the way that things turned out with the punt, I mean, how many times have we been looking? I mean, there's been good moments, okay? There's been good moments under Bones Fossil, and there's probably been more blocks and field goals in his regime than I can remember. But there's also just been some brain-dead penalties, and this was situational football. I understand it's a guy that hasn't played in a while, but what the hell are you doing? The ball was right by the Cowboys sideline, Brian. How is everybody not yelling, Peter, get away, don't touch it, and he touches it. He touches it, Brian.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, to me,
oh boy,
it's unfortunate. That part of it is unfortunate, but I think that you completely nailed everything up to it. This offense did not do enough. They did not punish a Cincinnati defense that has been struggling all year. They didn't do it. They let Cincinnati off the hook, you know. And again, that's on that man that's about to take the podium today. That's on him, you know. He's got to find a way to generate offense. And unfortunately, they didn't do it enough today. They suffered. And now all the talk about bringing Mike McCarthy back and this, that, and the other, and everybody loves Mike McCarthy. Look at this offense. If you want to bring Mike McCarthy back, you better say, well, you can come back with a coordinator.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you want to go through this again. And I know it's Cooper Rush playing quarterback. You know what? But you've got to find ways to generate offense against a defense that's been struggling their ass off all year.
Worst in the sport, really, this defense right now. It is the postgame show brought to you by Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching. Zach Wolchuk along the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus here in the Miller Lite Field Club at AT&T Stadium. Just a tough one, tough way to lose, 27-20, since he gets the win. I'm sure there are some Cowboy fans who will take your calls and texts that maybe the loss is the victory. But goodness, the way that this thing had fallen for you certainly had an opportunity. Joe Burrow, I felt like, should have been sacked about 20 times in this football game. Somehow he's Houdini, finds his way out of it. I'm sure there's a lot of plays you can look at and be like, Micah Parsons is being held here.
Yeah.
But he ends up drawing 2 holding calls throughout the game. You know, I think Mike Zimmer deserves a lot of credit. Yeah, I saw a lot of texts at halftime about the way they were defending. Maybe you play some more zone. Look, Jamar Chase had his against Bland, against Diggs, against Lewis.
It didn't matter,
He was able to make – sometimes these players are just darn good at football.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase is just a problem, and it didn't matter who the Cowboys put on him. He was going to get his, but really they didn't let anybody else but Chase beat them for the majority of the game.
Sure.
Chase Brown had a pretty good one. T. Higgins was kept in check.
Yeah.
Yoshi-Vash had one really big play. But ultimately, if you're saying 20 points is what Cincy's got with 5 minutes to play in the fourth quarter, I'm thinking Cowboys can win this football game.
You're thinking, and going in, I know on our show on the G-Bag Nation, we were kind of talking about the path to victory was to hold Cincinnati under 28 points. That was the path to victory. You know, that was going to say, hey, somehow, some way, if you could hold them to, say, 25 points, 23 points, something like that, maybe you could find a way. Because it was going to be predicated on Dallas's offense doing something. And for times, yes, I still wonder, where's CeeDee Lamb in the second half of these games? Where's he? How can he be just a dominant player in the first half? And they have nothing. And you saw how they used Chase. You saw it didn't matter who they put him on.
No.
He found ways to make plays. CeeDee Lamb similar could make the same types of plays, but you don't do anything to get him open that way. And you're right. I think this one, Cooper Rush, he's a backup quarterback. But Cooper Rush is very, very, very limited on what he can do for your offense.
He is. He absolutely is. I mean, the air yards and all those advanced metrics and statistics that will come out, they show that. They prove it in a big, big way. There's no question. Certainly now we got to worry about, we got a text coming in when it comes to Overshown. The Overshown injury was devastating. It absolutely is.
We don't know. That's a knee, and that thing went straight from the field to the locker room.
Yeah.
That wasn't even go to the medical tent and check.
It didn't look good, and it looked like it was it happens when you're battling in the trenches there.
It got
and a
rolled
player
up
gets, shoved into his knee. It didn't look good. We don't know. Cooper Beebe leaves with a concussion. Now you're on a short week. Is Cooper Beebe able to play against Carolina? A lot of questions with health. I mean, this team, the injury bug has been an issue all season long.
It has.
And they do keep out and keep battling, and there's something to say about that. But, man, this one was a stunner. DeMarvion Overshown has taken to X, otherwise known as Twitter. He said, wouldn't want this for anyone else. One of God's toughest soldiers with the prayer hands. Keep me in your prayers.
Yeah.
I don't know that sounds like somebody that thinks they're coming back to play this year.
Yeah.
That might be a season ender, but we'll wait for something that is official. I mean, that doesn't sound like a great – sounds like maybe something's happened to him again.
Yep.
To where he's going to have a long lengthy rehab with that knee.
He's going to have to battle, it sounds like, yeah.
That's a big-time bummer. All right, 877-881-1053. We're still waiting for Mike McCarthy to take the podium. Coming up on the other side, we'll take your calls, your texts. We'll talk with Brad Sham, Bobby Belt. We'll get more audio from the locker room and more. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
On the football field, I protect the end zone to give my team the best opportunity to win.
AT&T, the official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's original craft vodka. WinStar World Casino and Resort, proud to be the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. Sleep Number. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Snap is back. Burrow looking, throws it right. Caught by Chase, circles around Bland, runs down the sideline. Touchdown Bengals with 1:01 to play. 40 yards.
That was it as Jamar Chase finishes off a brilliant night for him with the game-winning touchdown with 1:01 left. The Cowboys unable to muster anything up offensively as Cincinnati gets the win 27-20. And the Cowboys fall now on the year to 5-8. The Bengals improve to 5-8. Cowboys also 1-6 now at home at AT&T Stadium. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus here from the Miller Lite Field Club. We'll get to your calls here in just a moment. 877-881-1053 is the number to call, the number to text. How about this from Next Gen Stats? Jamar Chase hauled in 9 of 11 targets on outbreaking routes for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns, the most receiving yards on outbreakers over the last 7 seasons. Chase finishing with 75 yards after the catch, giving him 622 yak yards on the season, which is also most in the NFL. So that's another indication. I get it, like Chase, slippery as hell, but tackling.
Yeah.
Man.
How could you, if you're the Bengals, how could you not want to sign that guy to an extension?
I don't know.
That to me seems like the biggest no-brainer. But again, we're not covering the Cincinnati Bengals.
Right.
We're just watching one of their players just dominate with the quarterback, who is a perfect fit for him. Trust me, my days of going to LSU and watching LSU football, those two. Yeah, I've seen this act before.
That's a special connection.
That is a special connection.
It really, really is. You just cheered for America's team on the field. Now see them on the reels. Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, now at a casino near you. Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. If you've got a gambling problem, please contact 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over. All right, let's go to Charlie in New Mexico. Charlie, what's up, man? You had a great call early in the week with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. You know, the kid touched the ball. Bad teams find new ways to lose football games. I understand that. But I agree with you 100%. We're averaging 7 yards a carry. Everybody in the world could see that Cooper Rush couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in the second half.
Yep.
But yet Mike McCarthy cannot help himself. He has got to chunk the ball all over the place. And what does it get us? It gets us absolutely nothing because the man cannot throw the ball tonight. So my question is to Broaddus.
Yeah.
We're out of the playoffs. We got a better chance of running through hell with gasoline drawers on than to make the playoffs. So why not play Trey Lance now? Find out what you got in him because you know what you have in Cooper Rush. So put Lance in there, and that way you either keep him or get rid of him at the end of the year.
I agree.
Thanks a lot, guys. You do a good job.
I agree. I mean, you're right. The season is over as far as playoff opportunities. You're not in the hunt or any of that stuff anymore. You're kind of playing out the string. And, yeah, I am, now, will they do this on a short week? Probably not, And then you've got what other games you got coming up? Tampa, Philly, Commanders. They'll say Cooper Rush gives us the best chance to win those games. Unless the general manager steps in and says, hey, we're playing Trey Lance this week. But I don't anticipate that. Because they got to make a decision on Mike McCarthy. Seems like the groundswell this week was, Mike's coming back. I know we had Troy Aikman on earlier.
Yeah.
And heck, Troy Aikman, Troy Aikman, when he says something, I think you absolutely have to listen. But, yeah, if you're going to bring back Mike McCarthy, you better damn bring somebody in that can call plays.
Yes.
Because I do not want him calling plays anymore. I just don't. I don't think it's good. The caller mentioned about 7 yards a carry. Find ways to kind of manufacture offense that way, running the football. Play to the strengths of your team at the time. But no, you want to drop Cooper Rush back in these situations, and it turns out that he can't get the ball down the field.
No.
So you get what you deserve as a play caller. You're standing at the podium right now, and you get to talk about an L you just took.
Yeah, you look at passing net yards for the Cowboys. They had 166. They ran 156.
Yeah.
The passing net yards for Cincy was 359.
Uh-huh.
There's a ridiculous discrepancy there between the two of you. And again, you passed the ball net-wise 10 more yards than you ran it. Running was the way to victory today. And in the game's most crucial moments, late in the game, you ran it one time for 14 yards on a first down, and then you went away from it.
Yep.
And ultimately it cost you 100%. It did there. 877-881-1053, the number to call.
I'm for Trey Lance playing, by the way.
I am too. I
mean, just to see if you want to, if that's what you want to do. But I don't think this coaching staff will.
And look, they had a 2% chance to make the playoffs if they won. So I don't know mathematically. I'd assume that they'd be eliminated. I haven't seen that yet, but you're right. I mean, the season's done.
Yeah.
You basically, and I asked this to Stephen Jones on the flagship on the G-Bag Nation when we have him on Fridays at 3 on 105.3 The Fan. Like, do you still think that you got the return on that fourth-round pick if you don't see him play it down? And he said yes, because they needed some type of flexibility with Dak. They didn't know if they'd get the Dak deal done. Maybe I'm just a schmuck. Well, I am, but it still doesn't make a ton of sense when you have Trey Lance expiring and Dak Prescott expire at the same time. And then you don't, Trey Lance was never going to play for you, I guess. They don't want to see him take the field. So for a team that's about drafting and developing, they're basically giving away fourth-round picks like it's Oprah on a Christmas special. You get a fourth, you get a fourth, you get a fourth. They've just done it with Jonathan Mingo.
Yes.
And what's Jonathan Mingo done for you since the trade when they wanted to try and get everybody excited about this wide receiver that they had a second-round grade on? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, to me, there's just so much. I don't really know where this organization is going. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what the thinking is a lot of the time. That one doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Now you're in a situation where you absolutely have the latitude to play Trey, and maybe you play him and he goes to sign somebody else, but at least you know exactly what you wasted that fourth-round pick on to see if you want him to be your backup quarterback in the future.
I agree.
Just doesn't make much sense to me.
Nope.
All right, back to the phones. Let's go to Jack in Fort Worth. Jack, what's up, man?
Hey, guys, I'm just calling in. Mike McCarthy runs the same plays every week, and it just does not work. We fail to get yards. And obviously it doesn't seem like he's a great motivator with how Micah Parsons just walked off the field basically crying. I'm sick of it at this point. I can't say I'm just incredibly furious. Even when the Cowboys were 4-12 last year, Tony Romo's deal, I cannot say I am any more happy about this. This is awful. Trey Lance needs to play.
Appreciate the call, Jack. I get it, man. It's never fun when you watch the team lose. And I know we had the battle with, tank for a draft pick, and it just stinks. It stinks as a fan to go through a season like this. And fortunately, they've won 12 games the last 3 years and gotten in the playoffs. But the playoff heartbreak is something that an entire generation of Cowboy fans has learned to just deal with.
Right.
You've had to just become numb to the defeat right now. Okay, let's go to Corey in Greenville. Corey, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, Willie Bully. Hey, Broaddus. How y'all doing?
Excellent. Thank you.
Broaddus, I agree with you. The defense showed out tonight.
Did their best.
They did everything. They did everything they could. Offense, they went away from Rico Dowdle, who had been doing really well all game long, the past 3 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Cooper Rush just starts throwing those floaters like he's Russell Wilson, and he's not. He cannot throw those balls. Put in Trey Lance if you want to, but I don't think it's going to matter what Cooper Rush and Trey Lance are both going to be on contract at the end of the year, right?
Sure. Yeah, you're right.
So now we're in the market of finding a backup period, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So tonight was one of those games where if we won, I'd be happy. If we lost, I guess I'd be happy too for the pick.
Thank you for the call, man. Seriously, thank you for the call. Really, the quarterbacks to me are the least of the problems.
Yeah.
It's the play caller. It's the guy who manages the game. That's the problem right now. That's where you why did it take them all this time to incorporate Rico Dowdle as a runner?
Hey, I got big questions about
Zach
that.
Martin got replaced at right guard. They got a healthy body in there. Steele, those guys playing better, running the football. Rico Dowdle showing toughness the way he has the last 3 games. Why is it taking them so long? See, to me, that's the evaluation of the head coach that I look at.
Right.
That's where I say, okay, where do I need to, as a front office, what do I need to do? I need to evaluate the coaches. I need to evaluate the play caller. This guy right here, this head coach has let you down as a play caller today. The way to get this thing done was to run the football the way it was, and not put Cooper Rush in situations that he couldn't handle. And he did tonight.
Yep,
he did.
I agree.
Empty possessions got you beat tonight.
Well, and our
against
buddy
a bad defense.
David Hellman put out that if anyone was curious, Rico Dowdle, he was averaging 48% of the Cowboys' carries over the first 9 games, other than Pittsburgh, which they won. He had 57% of the team's carries. Then starting in Washington, it's now the 3rd straight week he's had 70+% of the carries. So, that's one where I don't know whose decision that was. If it's on Mike, he deserves the blame for that. If that has anybody from the front office that was saying we need to go ahead and play Rico, that also is an issue that needs to be addressed. All right, we'll talk with the voice of your Dallas Cowboys, Brad Sham, and Bobby Belt, our Cowboys insider, coming up next. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
It's football season. Grab your Dallas Cowboys gear at JCPenney. If you love America's team, we've got all this.
serve, the cases they win, the people they hire, or the community they build, Bell Nunley is behind every great company. Go to bellnunley.com to learn more.
Dowdle to his left. Rush back looking over the middle. Throws a little slant out that might be intercepted on a deflection. And it is intercepted on a deflection.
That was the voice of the legendary Cowboys, the great Brad Sham, and we will get to him in just a moment. Right now, it's pause 10 seconds for allow stations to identify themselves across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
27-20. Bengals beat the Cowboys. Cowboys falling to 5-8. Bengals improving to 5-8 as we are here on the Miller Lite Field Club in the bowels of AT&T Stadium. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus, joined now by Brad Sham, brought to you by the National Medal of Honor Museum. Join the mission at MMOHmuseum.org and AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And Brad, we just got to catch and talk a little bit about our thoughts on the game. I thought you brought up a good point that went along with what Brian and I were talking about, some of the wasted offensive possessions, but you had a point in the game that was different to us, that was just in the fourth quarter.
Which one was that?
About the second quarter
offense?
Those last two drives.
So the Bengals have given up 20 points or fewer 4 times, and this was one of them.
Wow.
Everybody scores more than 20. Yeah. So you can point to the last play fairly, and, Leon Lett beget Amani Oruwariye. Oh. And if you don't touch the ball, then the Cowboys are going to have it. Aubrey will kick the winning field goal. But the last 2 possessions of the second quarter were really poor. One of them was good field position, and they had the time. They could have run out the clock with efficient offense, 3-something to go in the half. And you could have just run, even if you kicked a field goal, because you're going to get the ball to start the third quarter. Right. And you just drive down, eat the clock. But they threw it a couple of times, and that was the last one. But the last 2 possessions, I thought, Zach, of the second quarter just were really, especially in light of the fact that they moved the ball every other time, even the one on the interception, which it looked like a complete miscommunication between Rush and Lamb. They'd moved the ball the length of the field. So they had not had any trouble doing that. Then suddenly those 2 possessions they did, and then when you look back and track the whole game, I think that's where they could have swung it in a completely different direction, and that last play might not have ever had to happen.
Brad, I kind of feel like that I don't know what more Mike Zimmer could have done in this game. Other than treating Chase like he was a gunner on the punt team and put 2 guys up on him the whole and just jostle him at the line of scrimmage.
I mean, I said exactly that in the fourth quarter after they that at one point they held him to a field goal, and I said, if they hold him to 3 here, I consider that a win.
Absolutely.
And, I used to do arena football, and it's where I met Will McClay, as a matter of fact. And in arena football, if you hold the other team to a field goal, that qualifies as a stop.
Yes.
So then when they did it again later in the game, I said, that qualifies as a small W win.
Right.
And when you think about the fact that, especially once Overshown was injured and out, you have one truly difference-making player, and you have 3 or 4 other really good ones. And for Mike Zimmer to figure out a way and get his players to play in that way, to hold the Bengals to what he held them to, I think that deserves major recognition.
Did you look at offensively? I know you pointed to the 3 and outs, and we looked at that as well in the second half. But to us, it was, the running game was so effective. Rico was so good tonight. 18 carries, 131 yards. He's averaging over 7 yards a carry. Were you thinking, why stop running the football?
I think that here's the problem with that. Their secondary is so bad, at least statistically.
Until it plays your offense.
Right.
Yeah. And they don't get sacks until they play your offense.
Right. That's exactly right.
Or pressures or anything like that.
I don't think I would have just run the ball, Zach. I thought they could have done a little bit more of it than they did for a while. Then they came out in the third quarter and started doing more of it, and it was useful. But I think you have to be able to throw the ball. If you're not look. If you're not throwing the ball to C.D. Lamb right now, to whom are you throwing the ball in whom you have confidence that he's going to win?
The problem was I saw 2 targets to Tolbert that didn't even look close.
Right.
And now I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I've eliminated Tolbert. I've eliminated Brooks.
Well, Brooks was inactive because
but I'm just saying in my mind, I'm starting to eliminate.
Yeah, I mean, Tolbert to me has regressed.
I'm starting to eliminate guys, and I'm sitting there thinking, your best chances of throwing the football could be to Cooks
or Ferguson, and Ferguson was the second most targeted.
Yeah, and
or Turpin, but
not vertically down the field.
Slant, runs slants.
And
he did, and he had that 117-yarder that was really good. But he is not a he's not a piece that you can rely on for bread and butter, right? He's a nice little side dish that you definitely want to work in.
Right.
But they do not have, if you look forward, I'm disappointed in Tolbert because when he came out of training camp, after last year, and he came out of training camp, I thought he doesn't have to worry about being the number 3. He's ready to be the number 2.
Yeah.
And he has not played to that, even before Prescott got hurt. And so I think that has to be something they have to look at.
They honestly have one legitimate receiver.
And then
and then with Cooks, I mean, I don't know how to evaluate that one.
You might at some point, maybe a couple of your better receivers are tight ends. Schoonmaker's. He's improved leaps and bounds in the last month.
Sure has.
Yeah.
And hey, let's not call him Jason Witten, but
I tell you what's so disappointing, Brad, is because going into this game, as we studied it. And the Bengals, and there's just so many things you could have said. Okay, just do this. Just do this. And you knew Cincinnati's offense was going to be a problem.
Right.
But you got enough stops to win this game.
I thought if they lost the game, it would be because they just didn't have the wherewithal to score 35 points, not because they didn't have the wherewithal to score 23 points.
Right.
I mean, the empty possessions, the 2 at the end of the second quarter jump out mostly to me. Those are the ones that, when you're playing with who you're playing with, you've really got to maximize the opportunities that you have. And offensively, I did not think they did that.
I understand empty possessions against really good defenses.
Yeah.
I get that.
Sure.
You're compromised at quarterback. We talked about receiving. You got 3 different offensive linemen playing. I get it, but to me, that was a wasted opportunity today.
Yeah,
that was a wasted opportunity for a defense that's been much maligned with some of the things that's happened to them earlier in the season.
With the players they've lost, they have Nealand back. Obviously, they have Parsons back.
Yeah,
at some point, perhaps they'll have
Overshown.
But now you take out Overshown, who's their most dynamic player.
Yeah.
And so I just think that under all of the circumstances, for them to have gotten to the point that they've reached is a huge plus for what Mike Zimmer and his staff are doing. We had Chauncey Golston on the Monday Night Cowboy Hour last week, and I asked him why. And by the way, very thoughtful young man, very interesting.
I thought he was great.
Yeah.
You guys did a great job with him.
Thank you. And he did a great job. And so, I said, why do you think the defense has played better over the last few weeks? And he said something that made great sense, which is that, we got a lot of young guys, and so it takes a while for people to realize that, okay, what we used to call this that, and that's not this because we're in a different defense. And it probably took them a quarter of the season to understand what they were running, and that just happens. And now that they have, if they'll be without Overshown for a while, that'll be a real shame.
Yeah, let's hope let's hope it's not till next season kind of a thing.
Well, they've only got 4 games left.
Well, I meant, into next season.
Yeah, sure, that type of deal.
You hope that he will get on the field during the spring. Yeah.
You had a tremendous interview in the pregame show with Troy Aikman.
Thanks.
Was there anything that Troy said that really stood out to you?
Yeah, there were 2 things.
Yeah.
two things that blew me away. One was that
Joe Burrow.
Don't forget, I did all of his games,
right?
Except for a couple of years, and we were pretty close. And when he said Joe Burrow's like my favorite quarterback ever, I said, well, wait a minute. He fanboyed Dan Marino when he played, including when he had to play against Marino a couple of times. I said, and he said, yeah, no, that Burrow is that good. And the other thing was when he just flat out said he thinks Mike McCarthy will be back. And I said, why do you, what's your feeling about that? You've said this. He said, well, unless you hire Belichick, I don't know who you're going to get who's any more qualified. And he said, I have a lot of respect for Mike McCarthy as a coach. He said, I believe Jerry Jones does. And I think, he didn't say, I hope. He said, I think Mike McCarthy will be back coaching this team next year.
I respect what Troy Aikman says. I do like the possibility if you said Mike McCarthy coming back only if there's somebody different calling the plays. That's where I look at this.
Well, that's interesting.
That's where I look at this. I think as far as getting your team ready to get to the game, but I need something different with this. I need something different with this.
But you understand that that's
offense.
what Mike McCarthy likes about coaching football more than anything else.
Then that's where I have to disagree with Troy Aikman.
Well, does Mike want to come back, I guess, if they gave it that ultimatum?
Zach, you have just asked the $1 million question.
Oh, no, that's the truth.
And nobody asks it, and it is absolutely critical.
Oh, no.
Nobody asks out loud, Mike, do you want this job?
No.
Because I will promise you that there are aspects to the circus that he does not enjoy. You can win with them. You can win with the circus. You can.
Yeah.
But you have to understand what you're dealing with and not get frustrated and not get distracted when you don't want to talk about an injury and the owner goes on the flagship station 105.3 The Fan on Tuesday morning and says, well, the guy's playing or not playing. There's all the stuff that happens. You got to be able to deal with that. You got to know that, and it can be done. But I don't think he would answer the question honestly, and it would be an unfair one to ask him now with 4 weeks left in the season. But I think it's a legitimate question. Does Mike McCarthy want to keep this job?
He would tell you if you had a beer with him afterwards, after the season kind of a thing.
I will say this.
I think he would.
Every head coach, every single one, has some ego, much more than others.
He resuscitated his career. He did a fine job.
He did, and I don't think that he wants to say, I can't do this and walk away. But I don't think it's a slam dunk that he wants the job, and that's the one question nobody asks publicly.
Thank you so much, Brad.
Boys, have a good week.
We appreciate you. We'll talk to you after
Talk
Carolina.
to you Sunday. Yes,
on
sir.
Sunday, absolutely. There he is, the voice of your Cowboys, the legendary Brad Sham. More of your calls and texts. We'll also catch up with Bobby Bell. We'll hear from Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, a fiery Micah Parsons. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
It's here, the most electrifying event of the holiday season, Cowboys Christmas.
Company. Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching. Buffalo Wild Wings. Ford, your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
3 receivers left. Burrow has it, looks right, fires it right to Chase. Corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Cincinnati.
Haven't seen anything specific, but we'll hear from Mike McCarthy here in just a moment, as well as some others. But it does sound like this DeMarvion Overshown injury. The quote from McCarthy was it's of a serious nature.
Yeah.
Micah was getting emotional at his locker when talking about it. So he's going to get, I'm sure, more tests tomorrow. But it sounds like this is another severe, catastrophic knee injury for DeMarvion Overshown. So we'll wait officially for more information, but just bracing ourselves for brutal news, and that is just absolutely devastating for that young man.
It is, and he and Britt Brown, those guys, they all worked so hard to get back from what happened a year ago. And, he is just so explosive to watch. His ability to run people down, the way he plays with violence, his toughness. Mike Zimmer using him as a kind of, I call a poor man's Micah Parsons. Mm-hmm. Just so many positive things about the young man and what he means to this defense. And, you never want to lose anybody. And, boy, I'll tell you what, though, if this is one of those that he has to go through all this again, and then it carries into next season or, because, now with it being the end of the season, the timetable now starts to, tick into as you get hurt at the end, maybe some, pressing issues into the next season. So we'll see. This medical staff's one of the best in the National Football League. Hopefully, the news is not as catastrophic as we all believe right now.
877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text.
Can I say hello to somebody real quick?
Please.
Hey, listen to this. Matt Pittman, Meat Shirts, does a lot of work with us on 105.3 The Fan, the official pitmaster of the Dallas Cowboys, is out listening, and he's enjoying, him and the family are enjoying our post-game show.
Well,
wanted to say hello to him. Happy holidays. One of my favorite dudes ever.
And the content that they pump out,
is
the TikTok
incredible
stuff is gold.
Yeah,
if you
want to learn about the cooking aspect of
no doubt, some of those dips,
check it out. Check him out. But I just want to say hello to him I didn't mean to go from a somber news to that, but
yeah.
But Matt, I was just thinking about Matt right now.
Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus here in the Miller Lite Field Club. Let's hear from Micah Parsons, who caught up with the media postgame.
Part of it feels for Amani with what happened there in that ball, for sure. Amani touching the ball and that punt, What's going through your head there?
I mean, I wasn't even really grasping what was going on. Nick made a great play, and then, I asked the ref, explain what happened. He told me that we touched the ball. There's definitely a huge momentum shift. I mean, we just caught a huge stop. We're going to a 2-minute drill. It's just real hard to, you think to believe you can pull that game out from that situation. That hurts.
You say you wouldn't wish this on anyone. Does it just feel like it's snowballing this year? Everything just seems to be bouncing along.
Between the players, so many situations, it's just, I don't want to say it's snowballing, but I don't know. It seems like we're paying a dude that's not fair. I don't know if it's bad luck, karma, but in terms of the work ethic, everyone's working so hard. I mean, I think we really did well. We could have did a little bit better containing. I think we gave up some points, but, I mean, you tell me we hold Joe Burrow to 20 points and 2 minutes left with our offense, the way we was moving the ball today, I think we could win the game.
Micah, knowing what Marvion's been through, how gutting is it to see him go down?
God, I cried. It's like my little bro. Like, he don't deserve that either. We really don't. So, just to understand what he's going to have to go through and to be there for him physically, mentally, it's just so challenging because he's so talented. The year he was having, I mean, I really just don't think that's fair either.
There's a very emotional Micah Parsons after the game, brought to you by WinStar as the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. WinStar delivers thrills worthy of America's team with over 10,000 of your favorite electronic games. The 2-story WinStar Spawn Cascades. There's a luxury pool complex. WinStar is a world of wow. Please game responsibly.
That right there was the weight of a season.
Yeah.
That was the final, okay, uncle. He was talking about karma and all these things, but an NFL season can be very unkind. It could be, it could be elation in 2016. When you look at Dak Prescott burst on the scene, 11 straight wins, number one seed, yeah, and then in the crash with Green Bay. But that right there, what he was speaking of was just the emotion of what this season has been. And he's right about Overshown. And we've talked about him and what he brings this organization as a young man, how special he really is. And now he's backed up to it. And once again, he's going to have to go through another year of something he's already been through. But him, Britt Brown, I promise you, they will find a way to work together and get this thing right. And, hopefully he'll be back. But that was just Micah Parsons, just, and you don't want to say loss of words, but that was just the feeling of like, okay, that's it. That's, that was a cruel way to lose a football game.
That emotion, that care that you heard from Micah there, that's probably my favorite audio cut I think we've ever heard from him in his entire time as being a Dallas Cowboy.
He takes a lot of crap. He takes a lot of crap from people that he doesn't care, and hey, whether it's true or not, but you can kind of tell that he cares. That part of it he does care. That part of it he does care. There are times when you wish he would have come up with 2 or 3 more sacks to end a game, sure, but that side of it right there is the tough side of football. When you just realize that, all your efforts, all your hard work is just, for this particular week is for naught.
All right, let's try and get back to the phones. We'll take your calls and texts throughout the night as we're with you until 1 a.m. here on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go out to Gary in New Mexico, who's been waiting patiently. Gary, what's going on?
Hey, guys. A lot of stuff you could talk about. Here's my question, man. They've been running the ball good the last 3 weeks, and Rico should have had 30 carries tonight. Why are you throwing that slant down there? You should be running the ball down there. But the bigger question is this. They've had an entire offseason and mini camps and quarterback schools and training camps to figure this crap out. but yet we want to dick around with Ezekiel Elliott and Deuce Vaughn, and then, halfway through the season, let's start giving Rico the ball. If they had this figured out at the start of the season, maybe our starting quarterback wouldn't be hurt. But, why hasn't he been the starter since day one? It's obvious that he's the best back. Brian, you've been saying all year he's the best back on the team.
Sure.
I mean, what takes him so long to figure this stuff out? And I'm going to tell you my answer. It's not McCarthy. It's Jerry and Steven. And I throw Steven into this. Steven has just as much to do with this as Jerry does.
Sure.
Here's the cold, hard facts, guys. The Dallas Cowboys, since 1996, have won 4 playoff games. Danny White won more than that in his first 4 years as the starter. If anybody ran any of Jerry's companies that way, he would have fired them. They don't know what they're doing. They do some good stuff. They do good stuff here, and then they find some little way to screw something up. They just don't know how to put together a championship team. And I've said it before. Once Jimmy's team got old and disbanded through free agency, it's been a dumpster fire. They get a little close. They do good here. Maybe 10 years later, they get a number 1 seed. They do this. They get your hopes up. And then, but they're just not. They just can't put it together, and they can't put it together because they don't know what they're doing. And until something changes there, until they hire somebody that's going to come in and change this culture, it's just going to be the same old, same old. Thank y'all for taking my call.
I love the call there, Gary. That was that's spot on. I mean, that's really how I think a lot of Cowboy fans are feeling right now. The thing that stinks is that, and we talk about this, and I hate that this is reality.
I think the coach let him down tonight.
Tonight, sure. But I don't know.
But I understand everybody complaining. I get it.
But the Rico thing is
that part of it I don't understand.
That makes sense. And I don't know that was on Mike this year.
If that's on, if in fact that Jerry and Steven and Will are saying that we need to play Ezekiel Elliott all those games and split carries that way, then that is gross neglect right there.
Amen.
And if it took Mike McCarthy walking in there and saying, hey, listen, I'm going to give the ball to this Rico Dowdle the rest of this way. I don't want anything else to do with Ezekiel Elliott. Okay? If you kind of figure out through the whispers that all of a sudden that Jerry and Steven and Will were pushing for Ezekiel Elliott and it took him to the last month of the season to kind of figure out that Rico Dowdle's the guy, shame on them for that. That part of it, I will point at them and say that right there, that's neglect right there of your team.
No question. And we all went to camp. We could all see Rico was the best back on this team. And the fact that until it took Washington, week 11 or whatever it was, to make that change is absolutely ridiculous. And whoever is responsible for that needs to be held accountable. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
It's also ridiculous that you look at defensive tackle and you think, we need to wait till August to address that. Now, Linval Joseph, I'll give some credit. He's played better football here as of late. But still, now we're going to go bargain bin shopping, and they can use the salary cap as an excuse. I can't remember a time the Cowboys had that salary cap in order. I can't. It's constantly an excuse. And then don't double down and say, well, it's about draft and develop, but then we're just going to give away 4th-round picks.
Yeah.
And you're never going to see Trey Lance take the field, so that's a waste. Jonathan Mingo doesn't seem like he's working out. I get it. He's not playing with a starting quarterback right now. But regardless, I think Mike McCarthy and the coaching staff deserves blame. But I understand, and I feel the same way as a lot of these Texan calls, that the issue at the top, something's got to be done with the way they change and operate and team build and go about this thing. And I get the answer is it's probably not going to happen. And it's nothing personal. Anytime we've been around anyone in the Jones family, they're awesome. They treat us great. I love them. But when it comes to being a fan and wanting to see this team win a championship, the way that Jerry has run this thing for 30 years is not good enough. And Gary's right. If he was running any other business and they didn't make the conference championship game for almost 30 years, there's no way he'd still be running it the same way. But because it's him, and he doesn't want to fire himself, and he wants to win his way, there's no accountability there. Yeah. And that is a shame, and that is something that absolutely rips the heart and soul out of all of us diehard Cowboy fans. And it's knowing that we can't do anything about it.
I completely understand that. I completely understand. But also, I want to also say, and I think I have, the head coach let you down tonight.
Agreed.
As the play caller.
As a play caller, it's been bad.
Play caller. You could not have got a better defensive effort against the Cincinnati Bengals. But that was going to, that right there, I was expecting to potentially get lit up this game.
Yeah.
But your head coach, who insists on being the primary play caller, had empty possessions against one of the worst defenses in the National Football League. And I don't care if it's a backup quarterback playing.
I agree.
I don't care. You still have to find ways to manufacture offense. And they had some empty possessions there. And they had, once again, had a mistake. How many red zone turnovers have they had?
Yeah.
Count those up.
A lot.
Count those up.
All right, we'll hear from our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt. We'll get back to your calls and text 877-881-1053. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
It's football season. Grab your Dallas Cowboys gear at JCPenney.
At Laser Care Eye Center, we offer 6 different vision correction procedures to help patients see.
Check them out at dfweyes.com. Tell them Drew sent you. Hood, hood.
3 receivers, including 2 tight ends, bunched on the left. They throw a screen that side to Brown, the running back, and he scoots through everybody and down the left sideline into the end zone. Touchdown, Bengals, but hold on.
Yeah, they got him marked down around the 6.
Cowboys lose 27-20. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout, Bryan Broaddus, here in the Miller Lite Field Club, the official postgame of your Dallas Cowboys. Time now to chat with our Cowboys insider, Bobby Bell. Bobby, we've been breaking this one down for a while now, and we've gone through the offense, the play calling, the running game was there. You'd have a big run, then you go to 3 straight passes, you punt, the way the defense played. Certainly, some people don't think we've spent enough time via the text on the special teams, the punt block. But as you've had some time to reflect, what are some of your thoughts after this loss?
Yeah, the 2 biggest moments in this game are the block and muff from Oruwariye, and then it was the fact that Deron Bland just missed that tackle on Jamar Chase and let him get upfield. And it's a shame, too, because Bland had played so well, I felt like, in this game. And this was something where early on it was really gratifying to see, okay, you finally get Diggs, Bland, and Lewis all on the field. And I think on the first 2 possessions for Cincinnati, they each had a pass breakup, the 3 of those corners. And so, there was some – it was a lot of what you've come to expect from the Cowboys, too. Like, there was some inconsistency. Like, as good as Diggs was, Diggs also got picked on a few times in this game. And Diggs was out of position in a couple different moments where he was, trying to make a tackle. The Chase Brown touchdown on the sideline, Diggs takes a bad angle. And so, but then you get the 3 pass breakups and some really good coverage in there, too. And, so it's reflective of, I feel like, what the Cowboys have been for a lot of this season. But ultimately, the game comes down to the special teams miss, the catch and run from Jamar Chase, and what felt like a puzzling abandonment of the run at various points when that had become so effective.
Gain of
for you all
14
day.
and 3 straight passes kind of a thing?
Yeah, where it's you get that new set of downs, and then it's just 3 straight that don't really go anywhere. And I don't see a way, especially when it was clear this Cincinnati team outside of Trey Hendrickson has not generated a lot of pressure this year. And they,
you think?
They all were able to do it today. It was not just Trey Hendrickson that was able to get pressure. So when that was an issue, I don't think there's any way to justify Cooper Rush throwing, 31 passes? And he got sacked another 3 or 4 times, so he dropped back to throw the ball 35 times today. Yeah.
That was a recipe for a loss.
Yeah, that's not – look, and I know we've talked about team tank and, we're going and we're trying to win. But regardless of that, if you're trying to go out there and win the ball game, that was not the way to do it.
No,
it wasn't.
Bobby, the Overshown loss, and you just, a season that has just gone badly. You were in the locker room, were you? I believe you were.
Yeah, I was in there for a little bit, yeah. I was mainly with Jerry, but yeah.
But the emotions of Micah Parsons, and I call it the emotions of a whole season. Mm-hmm. The way he just basically broke down and, thought, hey, thought this, thought that, and then, he loses his linebacker brother, teammate on that play.
Yeah,
I felt like it all just came out of him at that time.
And it's a week where he has spoken publicly about how much he looks up to Zach Martin, and there was a feeling in that locker room this week that this is the end of Zach Martin's time in Dallas, and so that was something already that the team was dealing with, and specifically something that Micah was dealing with. And Micah has missed so much time and come back and has accepted so much of a different mindset and role in Mike Zimmer's defense than he had become accustomed to with Dan Quinn. Not in a bad way, just it was different. And Mike Zimmer got him to buy into team football, gap responsibility, all these sort of things that he had been criticized for in the past for kind of blowing up. He's bought into it, and he seems to have really bought into the Zimmer philosophy. So for him to deal with the injuries, for him to have a veteran that he's looked up to like Zach Martin essentially look like his career potentially ended this week, and then on top of that, you got a guy in Overshown who he's been close to in that linebacker room, for him to go down with what looks like another injury to that same knee.
Sure.
That's really tough for him, and I think a lot of people in there to take.
Bobby, I was talking with Brad Sham about this off air, and I was maybe curious. Maybe this is an unfair question. How many people you think on that punt return unit knew that rule about touching the ball beyond the line of scrimmage?
Oh, I think they.
Is that a standard?
I think most of them did, because as soon as it happened,
They cleared.
I saw so many different people put their hands on their head.
Well,
like
it happened fairly recently, that exact same thing.
As soon as Cincinnati recovered it, I saw there were Nick Vigil and others put their hands like they knew what had just happened. Now I don't know if Oruwariye was clear on that.
Yeah. Sure,
but yeah.
But see, is this a product of a rotating special teams unit? That it's not. I mean, you got maybe a couple of core guys, but it's always a rotating group.
Yeah, I mean,
this guy gets elevated because of special teams, and this guy, and you're.
Yeah, it could be. I would say.
I mean, does that? No, I'm just trying to get an understanding of.
Yeah.
Like some teams, it seems like they have the same dudes playing every week, and Dallas says, okay, this guy's active because we need defensive backs, but then he's playing special teams.
Yeah, I think that there could be part of that to it. I think the biggest factor there, it's the Wanye Thomas effect. When that onside
was
kick,
CJ Goodwin on the field, or is he injured? What was his situation?
Goodwin was not on the field. I was hearing conversation about that when we were walking to the locker room. But
okay, I was just curious.
When Wanye Thomas got that onside kick to him in Washington, everybody's going go down.
Yeah,
and he runs it back, and he was like, "It was my first touchdown." I think there is a little bit of you can know all the right things to do, and when the ball is bouncing towards a player like Amani Oruwariye, where he's not out there very often and hasn't been out there.
See,
very
that's
often.
what I'm saying.
Like I think instinct or just adrenaline takes over. It's get the football. I think they just blank in those moments, and I don't know. I think that we see that a lot. I mean, Leon Lett was famous for doing that, those sort of things.
Yeah.
It was just so. I think it's just that effect of.
But Leon Lett's not a core kind of special teams player or a special teams player.
I think Oruwariye, my guess, and I was not in there to hear if he had spoken. He may have addressed.
He did not. He did not speak.
My guess is he does know the rule, and he just instinct tried to grab the ball.
Okay.
That's what I would assume.
Okay.
That's what it looked like.
Well, I did see, and of course, all of our friends on social media, let us know that this did happen under Bones Fossil back in 2021 at home against Denver. They blocked a punt, similar scenario. Nahshon Wright at the time ended up touching it.
Mm-hmm.
Then Denver picked it back up and was able to retain possession. They were down 16-0, were the Cowboys at the time. So it's not the first time under Bones Fossil that we've seen this situation occur.
No,
I just wonder if it always seems like a rotating
it's
system.
not a bad thought. It's
that
not
like
a bad
here's
thought.
a guy fresh off being hurt, now he's having to play, and and so you're putting these guys in situations where maybe they don't have success.
Which I'm curious now. Now that you've said that. I wonder, because obviously Wanye Thomas was out today, and they've had various injuries occur and different things like that. I don't know.
Was he playing for Goodwin on that side?
That's the thing. I don't know how frequently Oruwariye, when he's come into games, has played. Okay, so before this point, he had played 182 snaps on defense. He's played 8 snaps on special teams heading into this year, so he's not regularly been out there on special teams.
Well, any final thoughts, Bob, before we let you out of here?
Just that I love you all.
We love you more. There he is, our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt. Today's game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys here at AT&T Stadium is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Raise your Dr. Pepper glass to America's team. It's a Pepper thing. All right, your calls and texts, 877-881-1053. Do you have some audio we got to get to? So just be patient. I will get to you on the phones as soon as I can. We do have to hear from Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, and more. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Hey, Cowboys fans, the Bahamas is calling. Start planning your ultimate getaway today at Bahamas.
proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Brought to you by AT&T, the official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. The islands of the Bahamas. Fly away. Jackpot.com. The Powerball jackpot continues to grow. Buy your Powerball tickets now on jackpot.com. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys.
No blitz, rush back to throw. He's got all day, wings it right in the end zone. Touchdown, flag is down. Brandon Cooks with a touchdown on the right side of the end zone.
There is your drive of the game, brought to you by Blockchain. Trust the team at blockchain.com to make buying, selling, and trading crypto easy. Play smarter, not harder, with blockchain.com. That was the first drive of the second half, first time this year. Cowboys scored on their opening drive of the first half and then again on the opening drive of the second half. This one, 8 plays, 70 yards that took 4:28 off the clock. And on second and goal, Cooper Rush finding Brandon Cooks for that 3-yard touchdown strike. Another week, and hey, another Brandon Cooks touchdown. That was his only catch of the game. He was targeted 3 times. His only catch was that touchdown right there that made it 17 all. Cowboys and Bengals. Cincy with the win, 27-20. Zach Wolchuk alongside Bryan Broaddus, the Super Bowl winning scout, here on the official postgame show, your Dallas Cowboys, as we're in the Miller Lite Field Club at AT&T Stadium. More of your calls in just a moment, 877-881-1053. I do appreciate your patience, but right now we got to hear from the losing coach of your Cowboys. Here's Mike McCarthy.
Clarence Hill, All City, Dallas. Coach, the block punt and the play by Rory, just can you go through that? And obviously, you guys are going over the situation and special team meetings. Just talk about what happened and what he was thinking.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we actually had a return called. The tackle released. The guard went down. The big gap was exposed. Nick took it, and then we were able to get the block. AO was in a vice situation, and then. He heard the roar of the crowd, and when he turned, he understands the role, of crossing. Once the ball crosses the line, his response was when he turned, when he heard the crowd, the ball was there, and he reacted to it. So, obviously, a big play in the game.
Mike Toddars with ESPN. The emotional swings of that moment, because you're in a position to get the ball, maybe go down and win the game.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, even before that, had the ball on the ground twice. Had the one turnover, it went back. Yeah, that was, a lot of flow, ebb and flow to the game. But I just, can't say enough about our guys. They just keep fighting, keep competing, and they made one more play than we did. So you can see it at halftime. The big play production at halftime was 7-7. So, and that was really just the message that we had to just keep slugging this thing away. And, a good chance it was going to come down to one play, and that's what it came down to.
On the deflected punt, is that a Peter situation? What's the calls that he's supposed
Peter, yeah. Yes.
With 8 losses, how do you reconcile where you head after this? You still
reconcile? We just do the math. Obviously, we're not even back to even. We're still in a hole. We need a tremendous amount of help. Is just being Captain Obvious here. So it's just one of the things we had to have this one. That's the way we approached it. Team had probably our best week of practice. Just having the whole secondary out there. Friday's practice. They had numerous interceptions. I felt this week, really for the first time since training camp, we were a complete football team. So I thought we were running on all cylinders. Knew we had to play a certain way because of where we are right now. And I thought we did a solid job of trying to play to that. We needed some takeaways, and our defense was created turnover opportunities. The one giveaway was it was a huge play. We really had a clean play that we had a collision there with our primary receiver, and so that was a big play early. But that's what this time of year is. December. These games are always clawing and scratching because everybody's urgency is at the highest, and we were short. We were one play short today.
Got one more. Overshown, what the trainers, doctors saying?
It's of serious nature. I'm told. That's really that's all I know. It just didn't look good.
It's a bummer to hear about DeMarvion Overshown there. Read that quote earlier, but it's a serious nature in regards to his injury. Certainly defensively, I don't think, I mean, hey, I get it. Like Jamar Chase had an incredible football game, but that Bengals offense that had been really putting a ton of points on everybody, 20 points is what you'd given up over halfway through the fourth quarter. You got a chance to win that football game. It's hard to put a ton of blame on the defense when they come up with stop after stop and still give you a chance to win. Offensively there, I mean, he said, look, there was a certain style they had to play to win. I think that running the football probably was the way to go, and they ran with success. It's just that's the one thing that is frustrating.
Him down.
Yeah, watching him play.
Yeah, you could talk about best weeks of practice and feeling whole and all that, but tonight he let them down as a play caller. And that's, there's no other way of, you cannot have empty possessions against this defense. I've said it before. If you're playing the best defense, you're playing the Denver Broncos or whoever the best defense is in the National Football League is now, and you're backup and you're kind of, he's talking about slugging it out and all that stuff like that, then you've got to find a way when you have an opportunity against a defense that hasn't rushed the passer, hasn't got sacks, hasn't played the run all that well. You have some productive plays from your wide receiver. Their wide receiver that's a similar type of player goes off, and I get it. You've got Cooper Rush going against Joe Burrow, but you've got to create opportunities for CeeDee Lamb, and you can't get that done. You get your running back who plays his ass off, running the ball tough for you, gain 130-something yards, and you can't get things done against this team. You had opportunities, and the defense got stops, and you run the ball 14 yards, and then throw 3 straight pass plays. If you're, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what the issues were tonight. Yes, AO. I was talking with Jesse Holley on text. Love Jesse Holley. Jesse Holley played in this league. Jesse Holley knows special teams.
Sure does.
He's talking about, hey, whether you're up on the varsity or you're on the practice squad, you sit in those meetings and you learn and you pick things up. We could talk about, 8 special teams play for AO, but he is in those meetings. So, these are the things that you kind of wonder, and you wonder why you lose games. Because maybe attention to detail. Maybe there's things that you don't do that you say, wow, we're having success doing this, and we just completely go away from it. And then you think that you've got a quarterback, you held Cincinnati in check on that scoreboard. You did. You absolutely held Cincinnati in check with your defense that you were so proud of, that had a lot of interceptions on Friday. You, as a play caller, let them down.
Sure did.
You should, you could talk about all the other things you want, but you need to look at yourself in this one. And determine, were you the reason why they did not have. I don't think it came down to a block punt and an unfortunate mistake by AO. I think your head coach, primary play caller, let this team down. I put this one on him.
Yeah, you had a minimum of 4 3-and-outs in this football game.
Yep.
And it does seem like sometimes when things are working, they go away from that. Like there's just a lack of consistency.
He's got that play sheet
offense
that's mammoth. It's got ring binders to it. And he gets down in the red zone, and they're one of the worst red zone teams in the league. One of the worst. And and you wonder why? It's not all the quarterback, sir. It's not all the quarterback there.
Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
You're turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
27-20, Cincy gets the win here on Monday Night Football. Cowboys falling now to 5-8 on the season. Bengals improve to 5-8. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus as we hang out here at the Miller Lite Field Club at AT&T Stadium. Let's get back to the phones. A lot of you have been waiting very, very patiently. Let's go to Ernie in Irving. Ernie, what's going on, man?
Hey, I hear Mike McCarthy saying we a lot tonight. We. Well, I don't hear any I, okay? And it is his fault they lost this game, okay?
I agree.
Why somebody called for a fake punt or even tried a fake punt is beyond me. I don't understand it. He's the head coach. He needs to relay down the line. We're not blocking the punt. We're getting the ball back right now, and I got the best returner right back here in the league taking the ball. Mike McCarthy tonight lost this game by himself. I hear no I. It's always we. I need to hear that. Thank you.
I love the call there, Ernie, and you're right. I mean, I
thought it was a hell of a football play by
Nick Vigil.
Yeah. I mean, he saw it. He shot the gap. He made a gamble, and he did a great job of staying even off the punter.
Sure. No, it was a great block.
Yeah. I mean, that is a football play. I'm talking about the other plays involved here, too.
Yeah.
You're right. If you get a roughing the punter penalty in that situation, with one of the best returners in the league, Bones Fossil, Mike McCarthy, Mike needs to click over and say, what the F are we doing here? Why are we trying to block this punt? But they got what they want. Nick Vigil made a heads-up play and able to shoot the gap and then get on it and stay off the punter as he's tipping the ball. But that to me, that's a big play. And the caller's right. There needed to be a little bit more I up there. I needed to do this.
We talk a lot about accountability, right?
Accountability. He's absolutely right.
We've heard other coaches, especially ones that are also the primary play caller, say, I need to do a better job of calling plays. I need to do a better job of maybe staying with the running game. And I will say over the course of Mike McCarthy's tenure, it's let's blame the officials, the poor week of practice. We've got guys aren't being professionals, with attention to detail. It's kind of everything else, but maybe it's on me. And I could see, we talked about it with Brad earlier, maybe Mike's getting a little frustrated and fed up with the way things are and operate here with the Dallas Cowboys. That could be the case. Maybe Mike doesn't want to come back here. Maybe
keep losing games, and you'll have an opportunity to go coach the New York Giants if you want to.
But accountability is important, and certainly the play calling was not up to standard tonight, even with 3 backup linemen and a backup quarterback. He had a chance to win.
Not against that defense, it wasn't.
No, it's the worst defense in the league.
Yeah, it's they don't play. I mean, they showed you exactly who they were, and you couldn't scheme your guy open like that. Like they schemed, and it's Cooper Rush. Get it, understand it, But that ball just doesn't. I mean, he talks about the They don't have any explosives.
No,
they don't have any explosives. It's like run after catch of their explosives. That's what they do, and trust me, Mike McCarthy, you need to, as you're driving home, you need to think about this one because this one's on you, sir. This one is on you. Your defense played well enough to win this football game today, and you let them down.
Let's go to our guy Jim in Round Rock, who's been waiting a while. Jim, how are you, buddy?
Well, I feel like I've been kicked between my legs. That was just horrible. I don't disagree with anything y'all been saying tonight. I just wonder, though, we scored that touchdown. It was a long pass that Cooper made to CD, and it just seemed like tonight, and I know, Brian, you'll watch the tape and all that, but I can just see it on the TV feed. These routes, these wide receivers are running. Mm-hmm. They were getting covered by linebackers. Brandon Cooks was getting covered by linebackers. Talbot was getting covered by linebackers. They had some success when they did go down the field, and they actually took a weakness of that defense and made it a strength because they allowed those defensive backs to keep everything in front of them.
Yeah.
And it's just like the same old thing. They can't get open, and we heard it. You only got one wide receiver. Well, by George, I mean, you should be able to get you guys open. They ran comebacks and outs and with Jamar Chase all night long. They went after our weakness. You know, they went after number 2 out there early on in the game, but it's very disappointing. And I agree with the last guy. Man, it's all risk reward. You get out there and you got a chance to get Turpin that ball, man, just call it, get a good return on and let him run it and see what you can get, because I think the momentum was with us. But,
sure,
yeah, Mike McCarthy looks like he's drawing up plays like a drunk armadillo with a crayon. It's just it's just the same old thing. It's not imaginative. And it's disappointing. But, look, fellas, I think this thing's over. I think I hope we get a new coach. We can't go. Brian, I don't even want to come back with McCarthy and an offensive coordinator. Let's get us a good head coach in here that puts a good team in, and let's get an offensive coordinator that puts the game plan in, that calls the plays. And we ain't had that. McCarthy doesn't put the game plan in. Shotty puts the game plan in. And I think there's a disconnect there. But yeah, it's frustrating. And I tell you what, I'm one for winning. I tell you, I like to see that Micah Parsons' heart, boy, he does care. And we talked about him last week about how he's kind of stepping up and be a leader. He's fired up and upset, and I get it. And poor Overshown, son, I hope your knee is not as bad as what it sounds like. And we'll just have to keep him in our prayers. But sure do appreciate you fellas for taking us home on this one. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you on Friday.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the call there, buddy. I thank you as well. That opens up a line more. Your calls and texts, 877-881-1053. We'll hear from Jerry Jones. More locker room audio as well as the official postgame show. Your Dallas Cowboys rolls on. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Hi, I'm Whataburger's Breakfast on a Bun, or Bob, and I'm Bob.
island delights cooked to perfection, or simply relax on 18 miles of uninterrupted coastline. Go to visitportaranzas.com and get acquainted with the island life.
Back in the gun, will sling it out to Lamb on the right. He starts right, pivots left. Now he's got a first down. He's gone the width of the field. Now he's going to go the length of the field to the 25, to the 23-yard line.
That was our What a Play of the Game, brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company. That was the longest play from scrimmage for the Cowboys. 43 yards on a screen to CeeDee Lamb that he reverses field, almost scores on. Was an absolutely outstanding play.
It's like his old Oklahoma days.
Oh, yeah. From CeeDee there, who finished with 6 catches, 93 yards, and touchdown.
How many catches did he have in the first half? 4?
Yeah, the majority of them. I think there might have been 2 in the second half. And that's been kind of a theme all year long. All of a sudden, he just kind of goes away in the second half games. Yeah. Bizarre.
That big old play sheet.
Yeah. All right, here's
maybe a little too much on that.
A little too much on the play sheet.
A little too much on that play sheet.
27-20. Cincinnati gets the win here on Monday Night Football. Cowboys now 1-6 at AT&T Stadium. It's Zach Wolchuk and the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus here at the Miller Lite Field Club. And
they lost 7 home games, I think, in 2015.
Yeah,
and they got 2 more home games left.
Still got Washington and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay will be the next one Sunday night.
They can have a 9.
Could.
Would that be 9 losses at home?
8
losses at home.
1-8 at home, which would certainly be a record. I don't think they've ever gone winless at home. I could be totally wrong on that. Now you've got 9.
1960.
You've got 9 calls. Or 9 home games now. Yeah, maybe 1960. Maybe that did
First
happen.
year. They didn't win a game.
All right, let's go to Jerry. Here's your owner and general manager after a 27-20 loss.
What do you say to a kid like Aurier who's just been activated, muffs the punt with 2 minutes to go? I know he's got to be having a tough post game.
Yeah, I don't know that we say anything to him. You just we made the mistakes out there. That mistake we made at the end was really it was very impactful. Is all I can say. Okay.
Jerry, how much emotional whiplash is there going from the blocked punt to having that Aurier play?
Well, the odds are the coach said we made the play and blocked the punt, but then we had a 1 and X happen when after blocking the punt we touched the ball. That's all should be figured in before you decide to block the punt. Especially you weigh your odds up against catching the ball on the kick and getting it back out and getting within a field goal range. So that's all there is said. We can all second guess that, but we would say that you probably had better odds of kicking free and driving down and kicking a field goal, but you got the kicking game involved if we'd have kicked a field goal.
Okay. How gutting was it for you to see Overshown go down like that after everything he's been through in the last year?
Well, the first thing that you would think about with anybody is him individually. And, of course, he's having an outstanding year, and we'll see what it brings. It's probably it's concerning at this time, very concerning. All right?
And Rico Dowdle, second straight game for him to have a big game. Late in the game, it seemed like you guys could have maybe relied on him more. Do you feel like kind of went away from that a little too early?
I don't know that. It looked like we had played it just right. But having lost the game, I'm sure you could go back and say a couple of those 3 and out possessions we had, you might have wished you'd have run him a little more, but he took one long third down play and made it into a first down there early in the game. So I was really pleased with the way the offensive line and Rico did the running game.
Jerry, what did you think of the game? Troy Aikman said that he feels that Mike McCarthy should be the coach next year. With the way the team has fought the last few weeks, do you feel that he is buying more belief that he could be back as the head coach?
Well, let me just say this quickly. And Mike is an outstanding coach. He has an outstanding record. He's got great experience. A lot of what he's about. Some of the benefits that we're having out there, we're gaining from the type coach that he is. And so there's an old adage, when you start thinking about any coaches, you better give it a good look, because he is one of the most outstanding. I think he just passed Parcells in his one-loss percentage. So again, I've spoken to that about any consideration I'm having, but this was a hard one for him tonight, I'm sure.
There's Jerry Jones after a 27-20 loss. He said advantages. I wonder what he means by that, like what you're seeing on the field, like the advantages for Mike. Like the team just still playing hard?
Sure. I think, it's funny, though, and I'll try and answer your question because I'm trying to think of a good answer for you.
Yeah.
I think he questioned the fact that they went after a block punt in that game.
Oof.
Do you feel like, though, that, that's something you have to cover if you're going to, so he's putting that, it sounded like to me that he was like, okay, if you're going to go after a block and you get it, you need to cover that if it goes beyond the line of scrimmage. And I'm sure that's something that Bones Fossil and them talk about in the meetings. As Jesse Holley was talking to me on, during a break, he's like, listen, whether you're a practice squad or on the varsity, you're in these special teams meetings. And, we talk about all these things. So, but, I'm always interested about, the advantages and stuff like that, Jerry. I think the things about Mike McCarthy to get his team to a game, I think are very, very good. To me, I think you lose advantages of him as a play caller. I don't think there's an advantage of him as a play caller. I really don't.
It's hard to say that there is. I mean, even with Dak, this offense was not good.
No, absolutely not. And they, the defense at times wasn't very good either, and they kind of figured some things out. They started getting some guys back. But, man, you're playing with backup offensive linemen and, your quarterback and all that. I mean, Cooper Rush doesn't even look like the same guy. He didn't even look like the same. I mean, it's so inconsistent for a veteran guy. And maybe that's who he is. I think Kellen Moore, as a play caller, was better for Cooper Rush than Mike McCarthy is better for him right now. I just, like I say, you have to be able to manage games. You do as a coach. That's the advantage that Jerry's talking about. There's certain coaches. Andy, you can talk all you want about Mahomes and that defense in Kansas City, and they're winning all these close games. That's because their coach is a difference maker.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a lot of great players. I'm not sitting there saying they don't. But, man, they get in football games, and they, everybody thought, Kansas City, they can't go on the road and win playoff game. What did they do last year? They went on the road and won a Super Bowl. You know why? Because they got one of the best damn head coaches. And I'm not just saying that because Andy Reid and it's a friend.
No, it's a fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
Andy Reid is an advantage as a coach. That guy up in Seattle might be an advantage as a coach, as one of the new young
Mike
coaches.
McDonald.
Mike McDonald.
Clearly Mike Tomlin.
There's teams that have an advantage at head coach. I don't think you have an advantage at head coach with this guy as your play caller. I just don't.
No, I think that it's hard to argue that. I absolutely agree with
you've got, think about what the front office, what they put into Tolbert, and what they've put into, these receivers and into the tight ends. And it's nice to see Schoonmaker's kind of picking some things up because everybody was calling him a bust, to the point where the kid, like he would go in the locker room and he was just beat down. And we were sitting there going, yeah, you want to tank games? And how much does it mean to that kid?
Right.
To play as well as he has, So, I could say, there are coaches in this league that are an advantage. Mike McCarthy is not one of those.
Cowboys now at the 12th pick in the upcoming NFL draft, courtesy of Tankathon.
Bengals behind him now, huh?
Got some question. No. Actually, the Saints and Bengals are ahead of the Cowboys. All three have a 5-8 record.
Oh, is it strength of schedule?
Strength of schedule is the difference maker. Cowboys right now with a 520 strength of schedule. New Orleans and Cincinnati are at 484. We might need to get rid of this because head-to-head, both those teams beat Dallas. So
I know.
they would flip and be the 10th overall pick right now if we went by that.
Now, Cincinnati they'll keep trying to win games. Dallas will keep trying to win games, but, heck, the Carolina game to me is in question. I think the next 4 are all in question. You've got teams that are playing, for playoff seedings and spots and stuff. Tampa Bay, Philadelphia,
Washington,
the Commanders.
Yeah.
This is not going to be.
And hell, Carolina took Kansas City to the brink.
Oh, sure.
And they were an Xavier Legette drop touchdown away from beating the Eagles yesterday in what might have been the biggest upset of the season. And in case you were wondering, Carolina actually favored by 1.5.
That's what I thought. I heard
now.
that coming
Yep.
in. Yeah.
For that game in Carolina on Sunday. All right, we will get back to your calls and texts, I promise. 877-881-1053 on the other side. We've also got CeeDee Lamb that we can hear from, Cooper Rush. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Every moment, every touchdown.
Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
At the Bengal 37 with 2:25 in a tie game. Snap to Burrow, back and sets, rushed in the pocket. He is sacked. Maris Leofau filling in for Overshown. What a time for that sack by the rookie.
That is our defensive stop of the game. It was 3rd and 19. Cincinnati at their own 37, 2:24 left. And Joe Burrow gets sacked for the second time in the game by Maris Leofau, the rookie from Notre Dame, who finished with 1.5 sacks tonight as he shared one with, I believe it was Donovan Wilson. So, hey.
Nice blitz call, too, by Zimmer to
Sure
get
was.
Wilson home.
Unfortunately, the next play was the blocked punt that ended up being touched and then recovered by Cincinnati, and they allowed them to retain possession of the football because of that. But Cowboys defense got the stop and had a chance to get it back to the offense with a little over 2 minutes to go and all 3 timeouts to go win it. Unfortunately, that's not how it went here at AT&T Stadium. 27-20. Cincy gets the win. Cowboys now at 5-8. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus. Let's go ahead and try and empty the phones here. I know a lot of you have been waiting very, very patiently. Let's go to Adrian in Tucson. Adrian, how are you?
I'm good, gentlemen. How are you guys?
All right.
Hey, so I was calling, it just really baffles me. I think they're going to try to save face and say that he knew the rules and whatnot, but it really baffles my mind, being an officiator myself, how many people don't know the rules of the game, and these guys should have been coached up. They shouldn't, Bones pulled them to the side after the issue. In that TV timeout, they should have been talking. They should have huddled, hey, this is the situation. This is what we need to do. This is, this is the plan. If the ball gets blocked, you got to go through every scenario, and you might not be able to do it during the game, but during the week, if that guy was called up today, he should have been next to him the whole time. And, the neglect on the coaching, that's where it is for me. McCarthy, I know, CD not touching the ball for a long time, that's, beside the point. We still had a chance to win the game.
Sure.
And, that play is what, sticks out to me the most. And, I umpire baseball. I did it for 7 years professionally, and I can't tell you how many times the players or coaches just don't know the rules. They've been playing the game their whole life. And, with that, I'll let you guys have a good night. But
yeah. No, that's a good call, Adrian. I mean, you're right. You're right. You got to be coached up and understand the situation. Situational football right there.
Yeah.
Unacceptable. All right, let's go to Randy in California. Randy, on the official post-game show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, thank you, guys. First of all, I want to give Mike Zimmer some flowers. That defense played their heart out, and they deserved more from that offense to help them in that game. My big thing was, McCarthy, with Turpin, I don't know how you see where he's he gets him an open space, and it's he can make plays for you. Yeah. And he puts him up then on that one play, he did a 9 route. And if you watch it throughout this whole season, every defensive back, when he's just out there singled like that, they press coverage him because he's a smaller frame guy. He needs to be in a bunch formation and get a free release.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I find it ironic McCarthy's going to sit here and say, he's like, if I'm going to go on my own terms and I'm going to play for my job, I'm going to call the plays. Well, he's doing a horrible job at, making a resume for himself.
Sure.
And then what's up with it? What is Zeke's role in this offense? When they signed him, they said he was going to do some short yardage stuff and 31 or 4th and 1, he can punch it, but now they're doing QB sneaks. Daddle's out there in pass protection. Where's Lipke? What happened to Dalvin Cook? I'm lost for words. I don't understand what is going on. Y'all have a great rest of your week. I'll let you guys talk on it, and that's about it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the call there, Randy. I mean, Zeke's pretty much been phased out of the offense.
Yeah.
And then the carry that he did get.
And that might be on the front office, though. Maybe in one day we can all ask Mike McCarthy if he's no longer here. How did you come to the realization that Ezekiel Elliott needed to be a part of this offense? And why was he splitting carries? And I wonder if Mike McCarthy would say, Jerry, Steven, and Will McClay insisted that I play him more than I wanted to.
It's a big question.
I would be interested to hear that that discussion.
And I mean, when it comes to a guy like Dalvin Cook, I get it. Like, these are name backs that had great careers in the league.
Yeah.
But life comes at you fast as a running back.
It really does.
And just because we know the name Dalvin Cook and we know the name Ezekiel Elliott.
Is he still in the practice squad?
Yeah, I believe so.
So they just haven't elevated him at all.
But why? I mean, when they did, he didn't give you much.
Sure.
I mean,
they handed him the ball, once or twice a game?
If his name's not Dalvin Cook, nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's just people know. I mean, with the Jets last year, wasn't very good. Like that's unfortunate with the Ravens as well. That's unfortunate. The shelf life of a running back.
Right.
And they had great moments in the league. And but to think like you're not getting that 2017 version of either player anymore.
No.
It's 2024. All right, let's go to Mark in Pittsburgh. What's up, Mark?
Hi, guys. Really love this show. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I wanted to say that it starts at the top. The way Jerry runs the organization, we're not going to win. I mean, and as a Cowboys fan, I live in Pittsburgh. We had Bill Cowher here for 15 years. Tomlin's been here 17. The Steeler way works. We know Tomlin is in charge. When Carr was here, we knew Carr was in charge. In Dallas, the coach, how much power does the coach have? I mean, whoever we bring to Dallas, the way the organization is run, they're not going to win. I mean, look at all the good coaches in the league, great coaches in the league. Coach Reed, the Harbaugh brothers, Tomlin, the new coach in Minnesota, McConnell, those guys were not coaching Dallas. And the last thing I want to say, we also got to look at the draft, too. I like Will McClay, but you should not be missing on first and second round draft picks. And we've been missing on too many of those. So that's all I got to say. Thanks a lot for taking my call, guys.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the call there, Mark. And look, I mean, they can absolutely not go ahead and miss on this year's draft. That's for sure. Now, I will say the 1-2 years ago seems like it's a little bit better than we initially thought after a year. Mozzie's played a little bit better. Scooney seems like he's a solid player. Overshown, heartbreaker what happened to him. Mm-hmm. And I saw some texts like maybe he's injury prone. Could be. I don't know. I mean, both injuries seem like they were just catastrophic knee injuries. I don't know how much that's on him.
He got whacked on the side of his leg on this one.
It's bad luck.
Yeah.
But, man, it's a tough deal. It certainly is. For a team that is going to draft and develop, if you don't hit on the draft, it's going to set you back. All right, let's go to Chad in Dallas. What's up, Chad?
Hey, how y'all doing tonight?
Hello. Chad, you there?
I'm here.
All right, we got you, Chad. What do you got?
Okay. I was calling about the play calling tonight. I kind of disagree with that. I like the play calling tonight. It was just Cooper Rush. He threw the ball so short, 6-yard passes, and he missed it on them. Like the fourth quarter, one of the fourth quarter drives y'all mentioned, the first down play on the bootleg, he threw the ball short to Ferguson. You can't miss those throws to start the drive out. That's putting us in a bad spot. And the block punt, I say it's not really a big deal as the play calling. I disagree with that because
it's a big deal. Don't get me wrong, but there were things that happened in that game. That game wasn't lost because of AO. That game was that game. I think that was part of it, but I do disagree with you, and that's fine. If you disagree with us about the play call, and if you thought it was good, then I'll give your opinion on that.
I mean, I'm all about moments, and that was a moment play.
Late in the game, play in the game, it was.
Yeah. But also the times that they had empty possessions against one of the worst defenses in the National Football League and allowed this team to get pressure and sacks on them when they hadn't done it against anybody else. Okay, where does that kind of fall in your wheelhouse?
Cooper Rush.
Okay, he's awful. You're right. He's awful. Yeah.
Yeah, but and to your point,
but the play caller's got to help him a little bit, right?
If it is on Cooper Rush.
Hell, we all thought Sam Darnold was awful. Look what's going on in Minnesota.
Why do you have Rico Dowdle run for 12 yards and then call 3 straight plays if Cooper Rush isn't getting the job done? Go back to Rico.
Right, but you're trying to catch him off guard.
Okay.
All right.
You got to have a balance.
Yeah. Appreciate the call, brother. Have
Thank
a good
you.
one, man. Happy holidays.
I appreciate the back and forth there. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. Okay, Joe in Rockwall. What's going on, Joe? Joe, you with us? All right, let's go to Matt in Dallas. Matt, what you got? You're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys. All right. That is going to do it for our calls tonight. Appreciate everybody who is waiting patiently, trying to get in. As always, that number to call, the number to text, 877-881-1053. Did get a text from the 240. Please stop speculating. You talk as if it's facts. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
He's talking about Overshown's injury.